It didn't happen in the desert, and it didn't happen in some remote wasteland far from civilization. It happened where people feel the safest, in a quiet American suburb where nothing ever seems out of place, where nights are predictable and the biggest concern is whether you locked your front door or turned off the porch light. It was a calm night, the kind that feels routine, rows of identical houses stretching down empty streets, streetlights reflecting off damp asphalt after a light rain, security cameras quietly recording nothing but stillness, everything ordinary, everything familiar, until the night itself began to feel wrong. Witnesses later struggled to explain the first sign, because it wasn't something you could see, it was something you felt, an absence where sound should have been. Insects stopped buzzing all at once, dogs that normally barked at every passing car went silent, and the air became heavy and charged, pressing against the chest, like the moment before a violent storm, except there were no clouds and no wind. Then the light appeared, not suddenly, not explosively, but slowly, bleeding into the sky above the rooftops, a soft, pulsating glow that didn't behave like any light people had seen before. It didn't shine outward, it absorbed the darkness around it, bending the night inward toward itself. The object emerged from that glow, hovering impossibly still above the neighborhood. No sound, no visible propulsion, no vibration in the ground, just a presence that felt deliberate, controlled, aware. Security cameras began to malfunction at the exact moment the object appeared, frames skipping, timestamps jumping forward and backward, images warping as if reality itself was struggling to stay intact, and later investigators would find that multiple cameras captured different versions of the same moment. In some recordings the object was clearly visible. In others taken at the same second it was completely absent. People began to step outside their homes, drawn by something they couldn't name, some holding phones with trembling hands, others unable to move at all, rooted to the spot by a sensation that many would later describe as pressure inside the skull, not pain, but intrusion, as if something unseen was brushing against their thoughts, sorting through memories, emotions, fears, decisions made long ago. Then the disappearances began. Quietly and without warning, a man standing in his front yard looked up toward the light and the camera captured his expression changing from confusion to awe to something like fear. And then he was gone. No flash, no beam, no sound, just empty space where he had stood seconds earlier. A teenager vanished while walking home from a friend's house. Her phone later found on the sidewalk still recording, the final seconds filled with distorted light and a low humming sound that no one could explain. A woman was discovered hours later miles away from the neighborhood, barefoot, disoriented, her clothes damp as if she had been outside for days, unable to explain how she got there, her phone clock frozen at 2:17 a.m. Insisting that she had only been gone for a moment, that she blinked and the world was suddenly different. Inside the craft, those who remembered described something that defied language, spaces that felt larger on the inside than the outside, rooms without corners, corridors that curved and stretched endlessly, surfaces that looked metallic but flowed subtly like liquid when touched, the air thick and electrically charged, making each breath feel deliberate and heavy. They spoke of beings moving silently through these spaces, tall and slender or small and impossibly precise, their movements smooth and calculated, their presence overwhelming not because of aggression but because of attention, an intense, focused awareness directed entirely at the human mind. Communication did not happen through sound, it happened internally, thoughts placed directly into consciousness, emotions transmitted without permission, fear, curiosity, warning, instruction, images of stars, of Earth seen from impossible angles, of time passing in ways the human brain could barely process. Many described the sensation of being examined, not just physically but mentally, memories unfolding without consent, personal moments exposed, emotions analyzed as data. Yet beneath the cold precision there was something else. Not kindness, not cruelty, but purpose. Time inside the craft became meaningless. Minutes stretched into hours. Hours collapsed into seconds. Some felt suspended in weightlessness while others felt restrained by an invisible force. Sensations of pain and calm blending together in ways that left no clear boundary between them. When they returned, it was never the same. Some reappeared exactly where they had vanished, others far from home. All of them changed. Sleep became fragmented and filled with vivid dreams of light and endless space. Everyday routines felt hollow and artificial, and the sky no longer felt empty but crowded, alive. Physical traces were often left behind: circular burns in grass, unexplained marks on skin, elevated radiation levels that faded as mysteriously as they appeared, and entire segments of security footage missing or corrupted beyond recovery. Authorities dismissed the events as technical malfunctions, stress-induced hallucinations, coincidences layered on top of one another. But the witnesses knew better, because the fear felt real, the memories felt intrusive, and the sense of being watched never truly went away. Some reported heightened perception afterward, an ability to sense movement or light before it appeared. Others suffered from anxiety, obsession, an overwhelming need to understand what had happened to them, to find others who shared the experience, forming quiet networks bound by a truth they couldn't prove but could never forget. And even now, long after that night, when the neighborhood appears calm again and the cameras show nothing but empty streets, those who were taken still look up when the sky is clear, still feel that pressure when the air goes silent, still know that whatever came that night wasn't lost or confused. It knew exactly where it was going, exactly who it was watching, and if it chose to return, there would be nothing anyone could do to stop it. In the months that followed, the neighborhood appeared to return to normal. Lawns were trimmed, lights came back on at night, and families tried to convince themselves that what happened was just a strange memory tied to fear and exhaustion. But subtle changes lingered beneath the surface, changes that were easy to ignore until you started paying attention. People began reporting recurring dreams, not symbolic or abstract ones, but precise, almost instructional dreams, filled with the same shapes, the same corridors, the same stars seen from impossible distances, and many woke with the same phrase echoing in their minds, a feeling rather than a sentence, a sense that something had been shown, not explained. Children started drawing similar images at school without knowing each other, dark shapes in the sky, beams of light, figures standing just beyond bedroom doors, and teachers quietly noticed patterns they couldn't explain. Electronics in the area continued to malfunction sporadically, radios crackling with static at the same time each night, televisions turning on by themselves, digital clocks resetting to the same unfamiliar hour, always a few minutes past 2, as if time itself had left a fingerprint behind. Some of those who had been taken began to feel drawn to certain places, standing at windows late at night, or driving aimlessly toward open fields without knowing why, compelled by an instinct that felt implanted rather than chosen. A few reported moments of lost awareness during the day, brief gaps where they could not remember what they had just done, followed by an overwhelming rush of clarity, as if something had been adjusted and released. Quietly, without announcements or explanations, unmarked vehicles were seen in the area, parked at intersections or idling near homes, their occupants never visible, and when questioned they were gone by morning, leaving no record of their presence. Those who noticed them most were the ones who had been taken, and they shared the same unsettling impression, that they were being watched not just from above, but from the ground as well. Researchers who attempted to study the case encountered resistance at every step, files delayed or redacted, witnesses suddenly unreachable, data corrupted or lost, and while no official explanation was ever offered, the message was clear: some stories were not meant to be followed too closely. Over time, the memories of the event became sharper rather than fading, details emerging years later that hadn't been accessible before, like fragments unlocking themselves when the mind was finally ready to handle them, images of vast structures in space, of multiple worlds observed rather than visited, of humanity viewed not as individuals but as a collective pattern moving towards something inevitable. A few witnesses spoke of a countdown, not numerical, but biological, environmental, temporal, a sense that certain conditions were being monitored, that thresholds existed and once crossed, something would change permanently. Then, one night, long after most people had stopped talking about the incident, the silence returned, insects went quiet, the air grew heavy, and for a brief moment the sky above the suburb flickered, not with light, but with absence, as if a piece of reality had been gently removed and put back again. Nothing happened after that, no disappearances, no lights, no official reports, just a shared feeling among those who knew that the observers were still there, that they had never left, and that the first encounter had not been an invasion or an accident, but an introduction. What comes next, no one can say, but if the pattern holds, the answer will not arrive with warning, it will arrive the same way it always has, quietly, precisely, and only when the time is right.